tacos. I like tacos, 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 tacos. I like tacos.
I want to try and get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing I'm not doing well.
Hello. The guy.
All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian. We do a news show here, so I've got some breaking news for you guys that I'm going to tell you right off the top in a second. But a little bit later in the program, in the first hour, one of Epstein's victims, Anouska Georgiou.
Anouska De Georgiou.
Oh, De Georgiou.
Yeah, she was the first survivor to come public in the UK about what Epstein had done. And she's incredible, so we're gonna interview her today.
So she's on the program in a little bit. Israel strikes Qatar, which is an epic disaster. I'm gonna explain to you why it is in a second. Donald Trump seems to be in favor of domestic violence. We'll get to that. But here's your quick breaking news. The Marjorie Taylor Greene was on the show yesterday. She was pushing for 2 amendments to cut funding to Israel. The Rules Committee today did not allow for a vote on those amendments. So
pathetic.
You're not even allowed to vote against Israel. Like even if you wanted to, which almost nobody in Congress does, because it's only they're only in the middle of a genocide and one of the worst ethnic cleansing, war crimes in the history of in our lifetimes. But we're all being forced to pay for it. We're not allowed to question it, and they're not even allowed to vote on it. They're not allowed to vote on it in the US Congress. You must give money to Israel, no matter what. They could slaughter, they could Holocaust. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Israel gets everything. But if you say that, you'll be fired from mainstream media. Okay, last thing. But an amendment that is likely to pass, hasn't passed yet, is Boebert reintroduced a bill to say that if you boycott Israel, all your contracts will be canceled with the Defense Department. And you can criticize America all you want. You can boycott America all you want. But if you boycott Israel, your First Amendment rights will be stripped away from you, and so will your contracts. And you will not be able to put food on the table for your family because you have defied the great state of Israel. Anyone who thinks that Israel doesn't control America is an idiot or a liar. Those are your only 2 options, okay?
So just to be clear, let's just call it like it is. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, a Republican lawmaker, but it really wouldn't make a difference if she were a Democratic lawmaker because Congress is chock full of them, doesn't believe in the constitutional rights of the American people, does not believe that the American people should have the right to criticize a foreign government, specifically one foreign government, and of course that's the government of Israel. And she believes that our federal government should be able to essentially punish or retaliate against Americans or the American people in the form of denying them or canceling them government contracts if they criticize a foreign government. That's exactly what this is. Let's just be clear about that.
90% of our Congress is controlled by the Israeli lobby. They give them money. They've given them hundreds of millions of dollars. AIPAC was the #1 donor in this election cycle to members of Congress. Mainstream media's job is to lie to you, to be thugs who protect Israel at all costs. And if anyone brings up, not only will they not share those facts with you, but if anyone does share those facts, the job of the media is not to back up facts and truth. The job of the media is to lie and smear anyone who does bring up facts, call them names and try to ruin their lives on behalf of Israel. So mainstream media, you disgust me, you don't do news at all, you're a bunch of low-level marketing executives for Israel, and you don't even know it. And of course, our politicians do know how corrupt they are. They sicken me. Almost none of them represent America. They work for a different country. They literally get paid by that country. And we've legalized those bribes. So if you're wondering why we're obsessed about this issue, well,
it's because we don't have a sovereign country.
We don't have a democracy.
We don't have a democracy.
Oh my God, Trump's going to take away our democracy. Too late, Israel already took it away.
That's true, that's true. Yeah, that is true. So constitutional rights be damned. If it offends the sensibilities of the far-right genocidal Israeli government, well, you're not allowed to have those constitutional rights. It's pretty disgusting, but that's where we are. Speaking of that terrorist regime, let's talk about what just happened in Qatar.
Yeah, we see multiple images emerging, Diane, of smoke rising over the horizon in Doha, the capital of Qatar. The Israeli Defense Forces releasing a statement saying that they have targeted the senior leadership of Hamas. If indeed it is the case that they've targeted and killed senior members of Hamas, the Hamas leadership who were involved in negotiations, it effectively cancels any talk of a ceasefire, any talk of hostage release, any talk of ending the war. This would be a major development and very serious one too.
Well, that analysis is absolutely correct. Today, Israel, the Israeli government, just definitively proved without a shadow of a doubt that they have absolutely no interest in a ceasefire deal with Hamas. They have no interest in a hostage deal. And make no mistake about it, the family members of the hostages are absolutely furious about this. Now, after months of alleged diplomatic talks in Doha, Qatar, the IDF targeted Hamas's leadership and negotiating team, more importantly, in an unprecedented airstrike. So let me be clear, this is yet another country, another sovereign country that Israel has carried out airstrikes in. Now, loud explosions were heard in Doha and smoke was seen over an area that's both residential and home to a number of foreign embassies. Here you can see CCTV footage of the moment the airstrike hit in Doha. And Israel immediately took full credit for the strike. Israeli Defense Forces and Shin Bet intelligence agency said shortly after the bombings that they had carried out a precise strike targeting the senior leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization. Let me just say, as far as the targets go, it doesn't appear that Israel succeeded. Now, we're waiting on additional confirmation about that, but think about how disastrous this is. They just torpedoed any possibility of peace talks, with Qatar essentially mediating those peace talks. And on top of that, they essentially have communicated to every country in the region, we will bomb you, we don't care about your sovereignty, we will do as we please. Now, a joint statement from Netanyahu's office and Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz described the attack on Hamas as a retaliation for murderous attacks in Jerusalem and Gaza. On Monday, 2 gunmen opened fire at a Jerusalem bus stop, killing 6 people, which leads me to ask a question that no one else seems to have the courage to ask, I guess. Considering the high number of civilian deaths, slaughters that have taken place in Gaza, does that mean that the Houthis have the right to defend the Gazans, or that Hamas has the right to defend the Gazans, or that some new militia within the Palestinian populace has the right to defend themselves? I mean, really think about this, Cenk. Can Qatar, considering the fact that their country has just been attacked by Israel, have the right to retaliate?
No, not only Israel, but our deeply corrupt politicians and our deeply corrupt media in America say that only Israel has the right to defend themselves. And their right to defense includes bombing all of their neighbors. They could obliterate all their neighbors and they have infinite rights. You, on the other hand, have no rights. If you're an American taxpayer, shut up and pay for Israel's wars. If you're a Palestinian, shut up and die. And you have no right to defend yourself. If you raise your hand against mighty Israel, we will call you a terrorist, murder you and your family. That's the sick actual terrorists that are the Israeli government. Israel is a terrorist state. Let me tell you why the strike against Qatar is a disaster for everyone, including Israel, and most importantly, including America. So number one, Qatar was holding talks for the peace process, as Anna explained, and now they obviously won't. So the peace process is gone. And this is them trying to kill the negotiators for Hamas. They already killed the negotiator for Iran when we were in the middle of a peace process with Iran. So you know someone doesn't want peace when they murder the peace negotiators. Those are the terrorists inside the Israeli government. The entire Israeli government is nothing but terrorists. Now I'm using technical words here. Killing civilians on purpose. Israel has murdered an 83% civilian rate in Gaza, 64,000 people at a bare minimum. There is no question they're targeting terrorists, civilians. Hamas only has a 67% civilian kill ratio. So if Hamas is terrible, disgusting terrorists, then Israel is worse, disgusting terrorists. There's no question about it. The only people who will say no are people who are racist against Palestinians and Arabs and Muslims. And the racists in our media and our politicians say killing Arabs and attacking Arab countries is irrelevant because their lives are worthless. And the only lives that matter are precious Israeli lives because they bribe members of our Congress. And that is what they do when they give campaign contributions. That is a legalized bribe. So now, more disasters. Israel's attacked now 6 neighboring countries, all in self-defense. Self-defense, my ass. They're a rogue pariah state. Now think about it, guys. If now for problems for Israel, no one will ever engage in peace negotiations with Israel because they literally murder anyone who tries to bring peace. So you can say, oh, Hamas, oh, we technically call them terrorists. It doesn't matter what you call them. And the dumbasses here in America, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, but mainly stupid people in media pretending to be journalists. Oh, the Arabs are all terrorists. You can't call Israel terrorists. But they killed so much more. They killed 60 times the number of civilians that Hamas did, 500 times. No, it doesn't matter. Palestinian children are worth nothing. Qatar is worth nothing. But you morons, that leads to another problem. We have a giant American base in Qatar. So now Qatar is going to say, wait, the whole point of having an American base is so that we feel safe. We're giving you 1,000 things, lower prices on natural gas, we're giving you security, we're giving you our country to have a base in, we're giving you everything. And now because of these terrorists, you bomb our own country after we gave you a goddamn base? Now you know what that does? That endangers American troops. But Israel endangers American troops for a living. That's all they ever do. Go to Iraq, go to Iran, go die in Qatar. Israel has to do more terrorism. They're these goddamn terrorists in Israel. They're driving up war all across the world. And they're doing it why? I don't feel safe until everyone around me is murdered. Okay, no, the real terrorist, unquestionably, unless you're a sick, racist, biased person, is Israel. Don't tell me they're not terrorists because Arab lives and Muslims' lives don't matter. And that is what every supporter of Israel says. Oh, who cares about them? Who cares? Oh my God, 6 Israelis died the other day. Those are real human beings. You guys have to cover. You have to cover those 6 humans, not the 64,000 non-humans. Qatar, who cares about them? Well, now Israel, you morons, you turn the entire Gulf with their infinite amount of money against Israel. Before, they were gonna, Anna, they were doing the Abraham Accords, they were playing patty cakes.
No. I'm sorry, but these Gulf countries have been, they're atrocities. And I'm not talking about the people in those countries, I'm talking about the governments who have sat by, watching the mass slaughter of the Palestinian people in Gaza, in the West Bank. They haven't done anything. They haven't done anything. And so I don't have any faith in the governments of these Gulf countries at all, because they've already been castrated to being Israel's bitches.
I know, but Anna, so this is what changes the dynamic here. Why it's not good for Israel, but they never listen because the people running their government is 100% terrorists. Terrorists don't listen to rationale and reason. So Anna, they had the Gulf countries totally neutered. They couldn't wait to make a deal. In round 2 of Trump, they were gonna make a deal that expanded the Abraham Accords, and they were gonna sell out the Palestinian people. They're still gonna. Okay, no, but now they've been attacked. And you know what's gonna happen right now, I guarantee you, today. officials from Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and others are meeting right now going, none of us are safe. We thought being with America meant we were safe. It turns out America will betray us in 1 second flat to help Israel do terrorism against us. So do not trust America, do not trust their troops. So let's make sure that we fight like hell against America, not because of anything America did, but because, we have to support the terrorists in Israel. We have to. All you Americans, you don't have a choice. Take money out of your paycheck, go back to work. Go get 2 jobs. You haven't given Israel enough. And when we question, should we be giving money to terrorists? Should we be giving money to a country committing genocide as we speak? They say, how dare you? You owe Israel. I don't owe Israel a goddamn thing. Israel owes America a ton, but they're the most ungrateful country I have ever seen in my life. They're not an ally. All they ever do is get us in trouble, get us in wars, get the whole world to hate us. They're disgusting. Cut Israel off, cut them off. They hate America. They make fun of us behind our back. They're laughing at us now.
Are you kidding me? They talk about slaughtering Americans who disagree with doing whatever and everything they want publicly. I would know. I've experienced it.
Anna, I put up a post on X today. I mean, this is so common that we normally don't share it with you. But I said, look, this is going to destroy the peace process for anyone who cares about peace. And it can hurt our troops. First comment, of course, is from an Israeli bot or troll, and he says, you're next.
100%.
They regularly threaten the lives of American citizens who dare to criticize Israel.
Okay.
So that's what terrorists do, because that's what the government of Israel and their supporters here. Oh, go Israel, go kill more Palestinians. You haven't murdered enough babies. That's who you are if you support Israel. Right now, you're supporting a genocidal government filled with terrorists, and you're a deep racist if you do that. Okay, don't tell me about anti-Semitism. You lost all rights to talk about anti-Semitism when you say that Palestinian lives are worthless. You sicken me. Stop supporting terrorism and war, and stop making us pay for your beloved Israel. If you love Israel that much, get the hell out of our country. Go back to Israel. Okay, go to Israel if you love it so much. Stop buying our politicians. Stop bullying the American people, and stop murdering everyone around you. It has nothing to do with self-defense. An aggressive imperial colonial empire looking to destroy everyone around them so they can set up their beloved greater Israel. They're loathsome.
Well, we have an interview coming up next. We'll revisit this story and give you some more details, including the White House's response to it. Stick around.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
We play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcasting cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, the defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma, and we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
Indisputable exclusive. Exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
Welcome back to TYT. Now, we've been covering the Epstein files and what appears to be a cover-up of the Epstein files by the Trump administration. But although much has been made about the Epstein files, one of the things that's really, really important to keep in mind is that there are real people out there, survivors of the abuse that was carried out by Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. And here to talk to us about the importance of releasing the Epstein files is an Epstein survivor. Anouska De Georgiou joins us now. And Anouska, I really want to thank you for your courage in, being willing to come out and be public about what you've gone through and how important you find it to release the Epstein files, because I know it's not easy.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for acknowledging that. And it was a decision that was made after much consideration, and I really had to weigh what the cost of coming out publicly, which is great cost really to my own mental health and also to that of my family, against what this really meant, not only to the other survivors, but on a bigger scale to survivors in general and to people being incentivized to come forward. Because at this point, there's really no incentive for any survivor of this type of abuse, especially at the hands of such high-end situation. There's no incentive for them to come forward, and every incentive for them to remain silenced.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. And so it does take a tremendous amount of courage. And let me just kind of start at the beginning. I don't really want to get into the details of the abuse itself. I kind of want to understand, how old were you when you were approached and groomed? I want to know how they basically sought you out, basically.
Right. Yeah. So I was around 16 when I met Ghislaine Maxwell through some mutual friends. sort of apparently, it seemed randomly that we had met, and it was immediately apparent that she was this incredible, like older woman who was very charismatic, very sophisticated, and so I was really excited to meet her, and she seemed so interested in me. And you know, as a 16, 17-year-old, you want to feel special, you want to feel important, you want to feel seen, heard, recognized, validated, right? So at that point, she took an interest in me, said she'd love to meet with me. We happened to have, I was ready to go to Oxford University, and I had a place waiting for me, contingent on my grades. So we arranged to meet up in London for tea after meeting in Paris. And then after that, she reached out to me, invited me over, and then the grooming began, or the grooming continued, because really the grooming by perpetrators of this kind is right from the onset. And it's subliminal, and it's covert, and it's insidious. So it's these little tiny reinforcing of how important you are to them, and how special you are, and what kind of special relationship you can have with this person.
And I believe you were a model at the time, right?
I had done some modeling. I mean, I was living with my mother because I was 16 years old, so I was in school.
So how did she reach out to you? Like, what was the reason for her to reach out to you and show interest in you?
Well, because we'd been introduced by mutual friends, there was already a connection, and I already felt a level of safety because A, she was a woman.
Of course.
B, she was closer to the age of my mother or my parents than any of my other contemporaries. So I also had this deference, right, of thinking, oh, I have to respect this person. And really, it was just, she was so interested. She was like, tell me about you. You're so amazing. I really want to learn more about you. Wow, you're going to Oxford. I went to Oxford. Finding points of connection. And that's where it sort of began. And then the invitation to come and spend time with her, I felt very flattered. I felt, oh my goodness, she's choosing me, and she knows all these important people. And so then when I had tea with her, this reinforcement continued, and she mentioned very casually about her boyfriend, Jeffrey, who I then realized, or subsequently have realized was Jeffrey, and about how he's a philanthropist, he really loves to just help people, and and I'll meet him at some point.
Interesting. Did you want to?
Yeah, so the government ridiculously claims that there are no clients at all. That it was just Epstein and Maxwell. They say they will not prosecute anyone. They literally put out a statement saying no prosecutions at all. So were there actual clients outside of Maxwell and Epstein?
So this is something that I'm really happy to clarify, because first of all, I was involved and perpetrated upon by them for over 10 years. So I had a lot of experience, and mine was quite close to the beginning of their romantic relationship. So I was exposed for many years to a lot of what was going on. What's happening in the media and where the confusion comes in is they talk about a client list. So that kind of infers or insinuates that the whole setup was designed to be like a pedophile ring with clients so that they could blackmail them, or that was the goal.
Right.
That was not the goal. The goal, this whole system was set up for Jeffrey, for young girls to be provided to Jeffrey, and Ghislaine was the one who was setting that whole thing up. And often it was her idea, because she so wanted to please Jeffrey, that she was going out and finding these girls. Now, that doesn't mean that as a byproduct, and as the girls aged out, they weren't then passed off to other perhaps significant friends or business connections of both Jeffrey and Ghislaine.
So were there other men?
There were other men, yes. That wasn't the main setup. So the idea of a client list is not actually a physical thing where somewhere we're gonna find this list and it's sort of, you unroll the scroll and it goes all the way down to the floor. There are a few people. I think the main thing to think about here is not so much a client list, although yes, we would love for those men to be held accountable, but it's more the people who enabled this. And this is like, if you look at following the money, because there's a bunch of money out there.
Right.
Okay, there's a bunch of people who facilitated this. Look at the people who were closest to Jeffrey, closest to Ghislaine, the people who enabled this, not the lower, sort of the staff on a lower level, because really you can see them as kind of being victimized also by fear, by intimidation. But look at the people who helped him run his operation, and then look for where his money went.
Right, but none of those men have been prosecuted. Has the government ever given you a reason why none of them have ever been prosecuted?
No, we've had a few excuses and sort of dismissive kind of explanations that really don't explain anything. And many of the other women with whom I'm in touch are very keen to see these other people held accountable. And every time we meet, like we just had a meeting, a private meeting with Congress, with Speaker Johnson and lots of other congressmen. And it appeared as though they were receiving this information for the first time, which is so frustrating for us because we have told law enforcement, we have told FBI, we have testified in court. We've been in so many situations where we're like, here's the information. Brad Edwards and Brittany Henderson of the crime victim law firm, he started this whole thing, He's been working on this for years and years. He's been saying, here you go, here you go. And now at that meeting with Congress, which was a private meeting, they said, please hold us accountable. We want to help you get this thing done. Can you please give us a roadmap? And Brad Edwards and Brittany Henderson said, we absolutely will do that. We will be in touch with you. We will show you where to look.
So who said hold us accountable? Members of Congress?
Yes.
Really? Which members of Congress? Are we talking about like Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the usual suspects who seem to actually care about this issue?
Yes.
Okay, okay, that's good to know. Now, I am very curious what the properties were like. Now, there's been some reporting. The New York Times just republished some details about one of Epstein's properties in Manhattan. And what really stands out to me are the cameras. And so, did you notice the documentation of these crimes happening? Were there cameras in the rooms? Like, were Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein essentially recording proof of what was going on in these rooms?
I believe so, and I believe there's evidence that to support that. It wasn't something that I was aware of, and you have to remember, I'm 48 now.
Right.
So when this was happening, between 16 and then right up to when I was almost 30, especially in the early days, this was not a thing that I didn't know about cameras or hidden cameras. I also, when you're in a situation where you feel, where you've already been groomed, where you've already been victimized, the only thing you're thinking about is how do I keep myself safe in this moment and how do I get through this?
Right,
Right.
So at what point did you realize that you were in danger, and what kind of tactics did Epstein and Maxwell use to essentially keep a survivor like you quiet as this abuse was going on?
So I think there was sort of very obvious ways, and I think this is part of the grooming thing, which is right from day one. There's this assertion of constantly reinforcing that we are very powerful people. We're very important people. Look how the staff around us are so deferential to us. Look how they're frightened of us. And in truth, the staff were far more frightened of Ghislaine than they were of Jeffrey, because she could be this very charming, elegant woman who was soft-spoken, and then she would turn around if there were not enough blueberries in, Jeffrey's muffin. God help that poor, member of staff. And so as a young girl, and I'm talking about like an 85-pound 17-year-old, I'm watching this, and this is how we navigate socially, right? This is how we learn as children. We watch and we're like, what is the dynamic? What is safe? So there were these little sort of micro signals all the time, but then there were the more significant and direct threats where, for example, Jeffrey met with a significant person in Palm Beach with me, and I'm not gonna get myself sued by saying who it is, but they're having a conversation about somebody getting away with something, right?
Interesting.
And I'm sitting there taking it in, being like, okay, and then directed at me, Jeffrey's like, you see, Anouska, if you know the right people and you have enough money, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's haunting.
Right.
So I want to get into your interactions with the government in a second, but so a lot of the victims obviously don't say the names of the people that are involved because they're worried about the lawsuits and all the different forms of intimidation. But has the government asked you what their names are, and have you ever seen them take any action in regards to those names? And I don't even know if they asked you.
I mean, I can tell you what I've personally communicated, to the government within testifying at the trial, etc. I've seen a lot of notes be taken. I haven't seen specific action regarding prosecuting anyone else. I also have a deeper understanding now of how the legal system works and how it has to work, and the fact that you can't prosecute somebody who's involved in a case until the former prosecution that's connected is completely done and dusted, right? So when Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, a lot of people are like, why are all the other people not being arrested? And you can't just go around arresting people who are all connected because the cases affect each other, right?
I don't know about that. So maybe that's an excuse they gave you, but I think you could arrest co-conspirators together all the time.
And prosecute them simultaneously.
Yeah, but okay, so let's talk about the first time they reached out to you, right? Because they halfway prosecuted Epstein back in 2008. At that point, people begin to find out that this started to happen. Did they approach you at that point, earlier or later than that?
No, they didn't approach me at all. I was never approached, and I never came forward until I reached out to Brad Edwards, because I mean, as a survivor of this, I was always looking. I would check the internet. I would look things up and say, is anything happening? What's this person doing? Because these people, I felt threatened by these people, so I wanted to know what was going on. And I discovered a civil case that was being initiated by Virginia Giuffre Roberts, and it was being handled by Brad Edwards. So I reached out to Brad Edwards and I said, listen, I don't want to bring my own case forth at the moment because the fear was really too much for me, especially because I had a young baby at the time. But I would like to be helpful because I have information and I would like to help Virginia.
And around what time is that? What year?
So that was around 10 years ago.
So 2015 or so.
2014, probably.
Yeah. So at what point do you talk to the government?
So I didn't talk to the government until after Epstein died. And I say and I say died, right?
Right.
Because I think we all have, plenty of information to suggest that was not a suicide. In fact, Ghislaine firmly believes that and has stated that, and it's one of the things she and I agree on.
Yeah.
So at that point, I went to and bear in mind, like, this happening was this huge bombshell for me and many of the other survivors. Suddenly, this perpetrator that we'd lived in fear of for so many years was gone. And so it's this inner conflict of like, okay, I was terrified and now there's kind of less fear, but there's no opportunity to have that reconciled, that situation. So then there was the dismissal hearing, because you cannot charge a dead man. So Judge Berman had a dismissal hearing, and we were invited to come and speak. And this was pretty incredible on the part of Judge Berman. So I decided to go. There was almost no notice. It's like, do you want to come tomorrow to go do this? Okay, do I? I don't know, So I went and I flew in, and then, we had a wall of press, no cameras, but a wall of press in the courtroom. And we had about 23 survivors, and we stood arm in arm in front, Epstein's attorneys in front, Judge Berman and all the press. And we were given this opportunity to speak our experience or say anything we wanted to say.
I would like to shed some light on a question that gets asked quite a bit in regard to what appears to be an orchestrated cover-up of the Epstein files, right? So, the Trump administration seems to be kind of, digging itself into a deeper hole, making it appear clearer and clearer that they do not want the release of these files. And so, would you argue that some of the powerful people that would be implicated as a result of the release of these files really fall all across the political aisle, left, right, conservative, Republican. I want to know because an argument that you often hear from the right, individuals who want to defend Donald Trump is, well, if Democrats had the dirt, they would definitely release the files. A common rebuttal to that, and it's a common rebuttal I use, is, well, I don't think that this is a partisan issue. I think there are powerful people from both sides of the aisle implicated. Can you confirm that?
I can say that I also believe that, and I also believe it's not exclusive to this country. We're talking about, both Jeffrey and Ghislaine made it their business to know the most important and influential people across the board, across the world.
Why do you think that is?
Because that's how you control everything.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, interesting, yeah. So you go and testify with the women interlocking arms. Did any prosecutors from the government then come to you after that and go, okay, now we know?
Yes, so immediately after that. And of course, that was like this emotional kind of like deluge. And then I was asked, they said, oh, the FBI would like to have a few words with you. I go off, speak to the FBI for what seemed like hours, like at least 2 or 3 hours. And they, they asked me a bunch of rapid fire questions. I told them whatever I could, and they said at some point in that, if anybody else would be prosecuted, would you be willing to testify? I was like, yeah, okay, And little did I know that the following summer, I would get a call at 6 o'clock in the morning, and from my attorney saying, Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested, and you're in the indictment. And I was like, what is that? What does that even mean? What does that mean from me? Because people often talk about like, oh, you were involved in this case. Like, this wasn't my case. This was a federal case. I was called as a witness. I was given no information, even about the evidence that they had on me. So the evidence they had, pictures of me.
Wow.
I wasn't shown those things.
So were you shown those things as soon as you got involved in the case? Like, did they present those images
Not until right before.
Interesting, wow.
So do they have video of you as well?
I don't know if they had video of me, they didn't show me video.
But they had pictures of you from inside the rooms. So like that means they have the pictures, they have the videos.
They have, to put together a federal case at this level, this isn't like, oh, some people said some stuff, so we decided to just like arrest people.
Yeah.
This is context, this is testimony, this is evidence. And it's not a little bit of evidence, it's lots and lots and lots of evidence.
So did you give them names other than Maxwell and Epstein?
Not of people. I was not trafficked to anybody outside of Jeffrey Epstein.
I see, okay.
But I gave them other names of other powerful people.
Interesting.
And you gave them powerful people that you had seen there, or that you knew from other girls had partaken?
Both.
I see, okay. And how close were you to the other survivors?
I wasn't close to any of the survivors until after the dismissal hearing.
Was there an effort at all by Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell or both to keep the various survivors kind of separate from one another so they don't communicate with each other or potentially work together to push for prosecution?
100%. If you look at any kind of grooming pedophile setup, the divide and rule is the way that you make sure that your operation can continue and does continue. And you also, as in that scenario, you wouldn't know who you could trust. You wouldn't know if one of the other women who appeared to be a victim actually would turn, because the truth is, these people could make you do almost anything.
It's just absolutely terrifying. And so, you hear about these like wild parties that Epstein would have with, these young girls who would, be victimized by these powerful men. To your comfort level, I don't want to, make you think about things that are difficult to think about given what you went through, but can you describe what those scenes were like?
So I wasn't involved in any of these parties. But my understanding is, I know that like neither Jeffrey nor Ghislaine really liked alcohol or drugs. So when you describe it as like wild parties, it's more about he would have these very lavish parties and very sort of intimidating parties. And my understanding is at some of these parties, some of the girls were present, and then there was some kind of opportunity for the other people to have sexual experiences with these girls.
And were there drugs readily available or alcohol readily available for others, even though Epstein and Maxwell didn't partake in that particular type
Jeffrey
of party?
hated drugs.
Interesting, okay.
So obviously sort of, socially, alcohol, yes. He didn't drink. He didn't like anything to do with drugs. And he also wanted the girls to be fully present for the abuse.
Wow.
Oh, that's super interesting. Okay, so
that's so sick. I mean, it's sick to drug the whole thing is sick, but the fact that he made it known that he wanted, these girls to be fully cognizant of what was happening is just, there's like something really twisted about that.
Yeah, so I don't know if you're allowed to talk about it, but in all those interactions over the 10 years, did you ever see Trump at any of these parties?
I didn't see Trump at any of the parties. I was introduced to Trump by Ghislaine Maxwell at a party in Manhattan when I was about 20 years old. And this is something that's been documented, in fact, by the Mirror, which ironically used to, well, or maybe not ironically, was owned by Robert Maxwell previously.
Right.
The Mirror wrote a story about Ghislaine introducing me to Trump at a New York Manhattan event. And the article describes incorrectly a bunch of things that happened subsequently. And I mean, for clarity, I'm interested in the truth. Whether or not the truth suits my narrative, I'm here for the truth.
Right.
And there was a lot of misinformation within that article. And in that situation, I was very much brought to Trump as some kind of offering by Ghislaine Maxwell, like setting up like a date, right? Trump did not behave in any way inappropriately with me.
Okay.
And that's the truth. That doesn't mean that there weren't other inappropriate things that were done, but that was my experience, right?
So you got the sense that you were given it as an offering, but Trump was at that point in time, for whatever reason, was not interested.
That's right.
Okay, how about Bill Clinton? Any interaction with him?
I didn't have interaction with him, but I did have on multiple occasions, I was told of that he was coming, whether it was that he's coming to Palm Beach or he's coming to stay at the island. In fact, when I was on the island, Jeffrey and Ghislaine both told me like, oh, you're staying in the room that Bill likes. So if he comes, you might have to move from that room because that's the room he likes.
No, well, at least they said move.
Right,
okay.
Yes.
All right, the island, I've always been curious about that. Now, again, you're guessing here because you didn't have interactions with everyone involved, right? But like I thought, well, maybe you could go to his New York apartment, because you're in Manhattan, you had a business meeting or whatever. But going to the island feels like almost everyone who went there knew what was gonna happen. Do you think that assumption is correct or incorrect?
I think that assumption is correct. I also can tell you that because of the way that all the properties were decorated, all the pictures of young, naked women, and this was across the board. It didn't matter whether you were on the island or you were in Paris, there was this like in your face kind of exposure to basically artistic pedophilia. And so you couldn't be at any of these properties and you'd have to be walking around with your eyes closed to not know.
And to get on a plane to go to the island knowing this about Epstein, you know that you're very likely going to be offered a girl. Is that fair?
I mean, this is not my experience. This is a speculation, but I would say that, I stick to what I said. I don't think anybody could go to any of these properties and not have an understanding of what might be going on there.
So final question for me, you initially, I was watching an interview of you on BBC back in June, and initially you were not necessarily in favor of the release of the Epstein files, but you have changed your mind. So I wanted to kind of ask you, what made you change your mind and what are you hoping would be accomplished by the release of the Epstein files?
So it's not so much that I've changed my mind. It's just the differentiation between a list and the files. And I think, we have to keep coming back to that. Whereas, we want everything. And this bill that's been put forward by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, this is everything.
Right.
Like, let's get it all out. Can we get it all out now? Can we stop messing around and get it all out?
I agree with you on that, because just releasing a list of names doesn't really tell you anything.
No.
Right, but releasing the files would, that implies that it's going to include evidence. It's going to kind of put those names in a certain context that will help the public understand what was really going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And now after this meeting, the private meeting with Congress and then the press conference outside, we have this opportunity, this window of opportunity, and thank goodness for those, like the 3 Republican congresswomen who came forward. Marjorie Taylor Greene was amazing. Her coming out and supporting us like that, if anyone can redeem themselves, that's the way to do it.
I have to say, she has been incredibly good on both the Epstein files and also her quest to get foreign money out of our politics, which I think is incredibly important.
Right.
But you mentioned the other Republicans, but have you been approached by any Democratic lawmakers who are looking to help, who are looking for the release of the Epstein files as well?
I haven't been approached directly, other than obviously like Ro Khanna, but certainly within the press conference, within the private meeting with Congress that we were able to do, every single member who was present was like, we are in this with you. Please hold us accountable. Please follow up. We want to support you. And so what we really need to do now is, because we need 3 more votes, right? And we're talking about the end of the month. So what we need to do is really bring out the support for these Republican congressmen and women. And because they are taking a big risk.
They are, yes.
I don't think they're taking a risk. I think they're taking a risk by not voting yes. Okay, if they vote no, that means they are betraying American women and siding with predators. There's no answers or buts.
I agree, but there's a divide in this country between ordinary people who want justice and the elite. And the elite very clearly are engaging in a cover-up of these Epstein files.
So that goes to my question. So right now, all the Democrats are on board for the vote to release the Epstein files. Now, I get it, the Democrats are not in charge, conveniently, right? But you've got these 4 congressmen that are Republicans that are, so you need 3 more Republicans, period, out of over 200 Republicans. So if 3 don't come forward, look, I'm not into this for the partisanship. And if you told me Bill Clinton did it, I believe it in a second, et cetera. We talked about both sides of the aisle, et cetera. But if Republicans don't come forward and they don't, at least 3 of them don't vote for you, aren't they betraying all the victims?
Oh, 100%. Then they're not only betraying all the victims, they're betraying themselves, they're betraying their daughters, their wives, their, everybody, their mothers. This is a betrayal that goes beyond a bill. This is an ethical issue.
Absolutely.
And so if you don't come forward, it's not just the next 3 years. Hopefully these congressmen and women will have long lives and long political careers. So I would invite them to consider what might happen after this administration cycles out.
Yeah, and
I agree.
Look, they should affect their careers. It should affect their souls. They're literally protecting predators, and they can never explain why. They always hide behind you guys. They use you as human shields. They go, "Oh, we're trying to protect the victims." Yeah. That's a lie, isn't it?
It is 100% a lie. And you know what? The problem is, now that we've come out and started speaking, we're not going away. And I can't speak for all the other survivors, but I can speak for myself. The more I am ignored, I will get louder and louder.
Oh, you're my type of lady. You're my type of lady. I love it. Yes, I love it.
Last quick question. So Ghislaine Maxwell said, I don't think that he committed suicide. I think he was killed. And then curiously, they didn't ask her, who do you think killed him? What a strange omission, right? If someone told me, oh, Charles Manson was killed, Osama bin Laden was killed, first thing I'd ask is who killed him, right?
You're talking about when she was interviewed by Todd Blanche.
That's right.
So that was an interesting setup, right?
Yeah.
And the main thing, and we can I don't really have an opinion about Todd Blanche particularly, other than the fact that he doesn't have enough experience and history in this case to be qualified to be questioning her. So
it appeared to me that was all about getting some clarity, if you want to call it that, from Ghislaine Maxwell, that Donald Trump didn't do anything bad. She gets rewarded with, Club Fed, with this fancier, nicer prison, which, by the way, I do want to ask you what you think about the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell was moved from, a more high security type prison, a prison where she belongs, if you ask me, to a more comfortable facility.
I'm horrified. So are most of the other survivors. I mean, it's a betrayal of everything that I did, everything I sacrificed to testify. The 30 years that I've lived with surviving this abuse. But really now we have to look forward to what can we do. We need to get this bill passed. One other thing that I think is important is, I think you have to think about, we all can see that this is political suicide for Trump to be
engaged in a cover-up,
to be vetoing or trying to pressure people to not vote for this bill and have these files released. So if that's what he's willing to do, why? Why? Right?
I mean, so that goes to who killed Epstein as well. Now we're in the guessing territory because you don't have personal experience, and neither do we. But so, I mean, I would, as powerful as those particular predators were, it's hard for me to imagine that they have enough power to kill someone inside a US prison and get away with it, right?
Really?
But an intelligence agency would have enough power to kill someone inside a US prison and get away with it. So that's me guessing. Do you have a guess?
I don't really have a guess. I have questions. I have questions. I can see that. My main question is, if the fear is not political suicide, what's worse than that? And who is, and everyone seems to think that, Trump is maybe controlling Ghislaine and manipulating this.
No, I think it's
probably the other way around.
Yeah, I do. In fact, ever since Ghislaine was moved to that more comfortable facility, I noticed that the Epstein leaks stopped. That's notable. I mean, I could be proven wrong. There could be more leaks soon, who knows? But I have noticed that those leaks stopped after she was moved to.
Leaks about Trump.
Leaks about Trump specifically, yes.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. I suppose intelligence agencies could do leaks, and they could decide to stop doing leaks if one of their assets got favorable treatment. But
I mean, I knew Trump a little. I know Ghislaine really, really well, and she is extremely smart.
She is, and very manipulative.
Yes, and she would not leave this to chance, and there is a reason that she is doing well and Epstein is not.
That's amazing.
Interesting, yeah. And of course she had a powerful father too, who wrote about you in the Daily Mirror, who was a legendary Israeli spy, stole America's nuclear secrets, but yet was allowed to own newspapers and publishing companies in Britain, in the US. Things that make you go, that is super strange that a super spy for Israel is allowed to own all those things in the UK and the US.
Publishing houses that published our history books, our social studies books in public schools. Anyway, we're now well down that rabbit hole. But Anouska, unfortunately we're out of time. I want to thank you for speaking with us, but more importantly, I want to thank you for being willing to, for lack of a better phrase, put your ass on the line to ensure that there's justice for the survivors. I want justice for the survivors. I think the majority of the American people want justice for the survivors. And to your point, Cenk, this is not a partisan issue. There are Republican voters who are demanding the release of the Epstein files, Democratic voters who want it. The real question is, do the people in positions of power who actually have the ability to make a difference here, are they gonna do the right thing? And I guess we're gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the support we need is to reach out to these congresswomen, these Republican congresswomen, let them know that we're supporting them. Let them know they're doing the right thing. They're on the right side of history. Because if we support them enough, I think they'll have the courage to do the right thing.
I agree.
I think politicians on both sides, whenever they've been in charge, have been abysmal and have betrayed you and the American people. But the voters on both sides have been terrific. And so Republican voters who've asked for accountability on this over and over again, you're absolutely right. This is your time. Call your congressman, your congresswoman, and say, why are you on the side of the predators instead of the victims? And that is a super fair question to ask your representative. They're supposed to represent you, not foreign countries, not intelligence agencies, and not predators.
All right, Anouska, thank you again.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Cenk.
Thank you.
We have to take a brief break, but we'll be back in just a few minutes.
All right, back on TYT, guys. Cenk and Anna with you guys, and also Petrali, Shelbel, and Florin Guy. Thank you so much for hitting that join button below. Joshua Childress, thank you for gifting a membership. We appreciate all you guys. A lot of folks wrote in, obviously affected by the interview that they just saw, plus the first segment that we did. CB1 says on TYT.com, this testimony should be seen by the whole country. Cray Cray Souffle says De Georgiou is so brave, and all other victims of those vile creatures that abuse them. Bravo to them and the late Virginia Giuffre. Panic on Funkotron says, how amazing to have a survivor on the show. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you, TYT, also for providing a platform for journalism rather than corporate elite propaganda. Thank you, guys. Look, before I wouldn't have said that we were brave. We just do the show and we say things that are true and see where things fall out. And we've taken a lot of heat throughout the different years that we were against the Iraq war, and we were called all sorts of names back then. Oh, you're pro-terrorist, pro-Saddam Hussein. How'd that work out, right? And we've been through a lot of that, but still I didn't consider it brave until now, because the pro-Israel thugs in this country are dangerous. And so they're constantly doing very real threats. They try to threaten your career, your life, your health, and they're sick people. And they believe in their paranoid, psychotic minds that they're doing it for good. Oh, we have to intimidate and ruin and murder anyone who opposes Israel because, all the Jews are gonna be killed. They're lunatics, they've lost their goddamn minds. And so they use that to justify horrible things that they do to other human beings. The Israeli government does that, and unfortunately, nowadays, pro-Israel supporters to this day who are cheerleading for a genocide regularly bully, threaten, intimidate others, and constantly threaten to murder them. Because in their mind, they've now become immune. There is no law for Israel, so they can murder anyone they like anywhere on the planet. They've already murdered 10 Americans since 2022, and they think that there's no accountability. So they're very dangerous people. We'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. We're gonna read a couple comments here because we want to get you involved in the show. And then we've got such important stories coming up for you, including American reaction to the terrorist bombing in Qatar by Israel. Michael Napin on that account says just a matter of time until they bomb Jordan and Egypt too. And in fact, they're also targeting Turkey now. Turkey has cut off economic ties with Israel and their airspace. And the minute they did that, boom, there was US congressman, we showed it to you on the show, talking about, oh, Turks are all terrorists, they're gonna reconstitute the Ottoman Empire, we have to kill all the Turks are Muslim Brotherhood, kill the Turks are terrorists. Because our congressmen, they're not just paid shills to vote for Israel, they actually have to actively do propaganda and marketing for the terrorists that run the Israeli government. So yeah, any country could be next. Israel believes they're totally above the law, and so far they're right. And they can murder anyone in any country, and so far they've gotten away with it completely. So everybody be careful. At any moment, Israel can do anything. I've never seen a country this lawless and this powerful. Kelly K says they must be getting close to a bombshell on Epstein. Seems like every time they do, Israel does a distraction bombing in a random country to create chaos. Well, those things might not be related because Israel attacks their neighbors all the time. They've done that very consistently since 1948. They're the most aggressive, militaristic, colonial country in the Middle East by far. They start almost all the wars, and they've attacked all their neighbors. It has nothing to do with self-defense. It's all aggressive military action to take more land from Arabs, kill more Arabs, steal more land. That's what the government of Israel is all about right now. If this was your dream, I mean, if you're someone who loved the idea of Israel as a safe haven for Jews and the kibbutz dream and all that mythology, right? You have to be 10,000 times angrier than I am. I mean, they took that dream and turned it into a terrorist state, one that the entire world despises, that's murdered tens of thousands of children right in front of your eyes, and gotten the whole world to hate everyone associated with Israel. I mean, if you love Israel, you should be so much angrier than me about what they've done. But instead, we have people here going, oh no. As long as Israel does it, murder and terrorism and war are awesome. And if you don't sign on for that, you hate Jews. No, we don't hate Jews. But you obviously hate Arabs and Muslims. And I'm gonna say it 1,000 times, 2,000 times from now on. Anyone still supporting the genocide in Gaza is a racist. Racist. They should all be called out as racist. And by the way, fire with fire. I don't want to work with a racist like that. So if they're going around trying to fire everyone who doesn't support Israel's genocide, maybe we should consider firing people who do support Israel's genocide because they're over the top racist. So, okay, you want to keep going, Israel? You want to keep going? Of course you do, right? And so anyway, you get it. They're disgusting people, the government of Israel. Steph SoCal, YouTube member, says, my stomach just dropped hearing her say that Jeffrey Epstein wanted the girls to be totally present for the abuse. Holy hell.
I know, it's
so disgusting. Guys, this is what I'm talking about. At the very core of all of this, Israel, Epstein, etc., is not about Israel. It's about our government. Do we control our own government? Or is our government run by a bunch of sick, disgusting predators who are like, oh, the terrorists in Israel have murdered 64,000 Palestinians? They've murdered 20,000 children? Let's give them more money. What kind of sick person says that? And then, oh, Epstein raped American children? Oh yes, let's protect the predators. That is the disgusting, sick, grotesque people who run our government. But they're a bunch of servants for the donor class. They're just like, oh, Israel, big oil, it's a super rich dude. What would you like me to do? I'll do anything disgusting and despicable for you. That is 95% of our politicians. They're the worst people in the country. When you see a politician, you should have nothing but disgust for them, unless they've proven themselves like Ro Khanna and shockingly, Tom Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and some others. But there isn't a big list. There's about a dozen of them, and the rest of them are the lowest forms of human beings in the country, and we've elevated them to running our government. This is not a democracy. This is sick. We'll be back.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Rich and powerful men abusing, assaulting, and abandoning young women. These rich and powerful men donate to the politicians in Washington, D.C., play golf with the elites in Washington, D.C. They are foreign leaders who we don't want to offend. They interact with our intelligence agencies that we don't want to disobey. There is something rotten in Washington.
And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
All those congressmen you just saw there are on the record as protecting the child rapists who were clients of Epstein. They have not prosecuted a single person outside of Epstein and Maxwell.
Yep.
Not one.
Is Trump engaging in this cover up because he's in the Epstein files?
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff.
So as the government keeps telling us, yeah, there's other people. Yeah, they raped those girls. So what? We're gonna cover up for them. But why are you guys so mad?
A nation that chooses impunity for the rich and the powerful at the expense of our children is a nation that has lost its moral purpose. Are you on the side of the people? Are you on the side of America's children? Or are you on the side of the rich and powerful who've had their thumb on the scales and shafted Americans for decades?
The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one. In a media landscape poisoned by corporate influence, only one show stands apart from the rest, The Young Turks. As the longest running daily news show on the internet, The Young Turks is an impactful voice of unfiltered truth, one you can trust to deliver the daily news with authenticity and honesty. For nearly 2 decades, TYT has been breaking the mold of media. We're not here to echo the powerful or the elite, we're here to challenge them. Our mission is to give you accurate news, fight the establishment, and cover stories that mainstream media keeps you in the dark about, which matter to your everyday life. We've remained a leader in online news because of our established credibility with an engaged audience looking for alternative media that represents the real concerns of everyday Americans. Listen to The Young Turks, a news show that only answers to you on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
How do you know if you're a populist? Easy. Do you work for the donor class? You don't? Great, you're a populist. Okay, so the establishment takes money from the donors and serves the donors. Mainstream media takes money from advertisers, and they are giant corporations themselves, and they work for themselves, and they work for the powerful. If you care about the average person, and you want the average person to have better health care, better wages, a better life, and you hate corruption, congrats, you're a populist.
I do want corruption.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys, but also Arthur M, who just joined by hitting the join button on YouTube. Guys, we really appreciate that. It makes a huge difference for the show when you sign up, and it allows us to do this kind of honest programming. And Matt Mandu joined up on tyt.com/join. Matt, we really appreciate that. Signing up on the website's amazing. All right, Look, let me tell you guys real quick about one of our sponsors, Chapter. We've actually had great success with them because they're actually helping people and getting our viewers more money off. Somebody wrote in just yesterday about how they got over $700 off when they did this free call with them. Just takes 20 minutes, doesn't cost you anything. On average, they save people $1,100, so which is amazing. And this is if you're on Medicare, you need the help, because if you're just winging it on your own, you have no idea if you're gonna get the best plan. And most of the other guys do it based on the commission the insurance companies give them. Chapter actually finds the best plan for you. That's why we picked them. That's why people are happy with them. So if you wanna get it, 707 TYT help. So easy to remember. 707 TYT help is the phone number. 707 TYT help. Go save some money and get peace of mind, by the way. If you have the best plan, they'll tell you. So that's great peace of mind if that's the case. All right, Anna.
All right, let's get to our next story. How much did the Trump administration know about Israel's plans to strike Qatar, specifically Hamas targets in Qatar? Of course, Qatar is a sovereign country, and carrying out an airstrike, carrying out a bombing in a sovereign country is a big deal, or it should be considered a big deal. And shockingly, it appears that the president of the United States also seems to see this as a big deal for maybe the first time, because Israel has bombed every single one of its neighbors. Now, Netanyahu has said that the strike is a wholly independent Israeli operation, but Trump was given prior warning and allegedly gave the green light for the bombing. Now, that does contradict what the White House said today. Here's Caroline Levitt.
This morning, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that as Israel was attacking Hamas, which very unfortunately was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar. Unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. President Trump immediately directed Special Envoy Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. The president views Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the United States and feels very badly about the location of this attack. President Trump also spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu after the attack. The Prime Minister told President Trump that he wants to make peace, and quickly. President Trump believes this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace.
The biggest lie ever told is the idea that Donald Trump wants peace, as he's egging on Venezuela for a potential regime change war. Anyway, putting that aside for a minute.
The biggest lie is that Israel wants peace.
Well, Israel doesn't want peace.
Never.
Israel wants to expand to the Greater Israel Project. It's become abundantly clear. Anyone denying it is either lying or is literally the most naive person on the planet. But let me give you the rest of this story, because just last week we had been interviewing Trita Parsi, the executive vice president of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, and he posted about the strike in Qatar today and made this obvious but critical point in response to the news that Trump greenlit Israel's strike on Qatar. He writes, "What is the value of an American security umbrella and hosting a US base on your soil," as Qatar does, of course, "if the United States itself conspires to attack you?" That is a question that all GCC leaders are asking themselves today, given that they have put all of their security eggs in the US basket. Big mistake. Now, it should have been clear to them for some time now that this day would come, since the US has, since October 7th, lifted all constraints on Israel. What does it tell Lebanon about American promises about restraining Israel if Lebanon disarms Hezbollah? Given the US green light for Israel to bomb Qatar, I think disarming Hezbollah would be the dumbest mistake that Lebanon can possibly make, mainly because the sovereignty of Lebanon will be under threat. There will be no defense of Lebanon if Hezbollah is disarmed. That's why Israel wants Hezbollah to be disarmed. Now, Trump is pretending like he didn't greenlight this. And I say pretending because I want to be clear. Donald Trump has done everything and anything that the Israeli government wants. There are no brakes on that car, but he wants to have his cake and eat it too. And let's keep it real. Homeboy knows that Qatar is an important ally of the United States, but more importantly, he also has business deals in Qatar. And I'm gonna get to that in just a minute. But first, I'll read you what he posted on Truth Social today, writing that this morning the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that Israel was attacking Hamas, which very unfortunately was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar. This was a decision made by Prime Minister Netanyahu. It was not a decision made by me. Unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. I immediately directed Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. However, unfortunately, too late to stop the attack. The Qataris say that they were not warned of the attack. So I don't trust Trump, and I also don't trust that Trump was against this attack in Qatar. I think Trump wants to allow Israel to do whatever it wants, but he also doesn't want to suffer the blowback or the potential business-related consequences that would arise from overtly giving Israel the green light. And what am I talking about when I say business ties and business relationship? Well, in April, the Trump family company struck a multi-billion-dollar deal to build a luxury golf resort in Qatar, in addition to a Saudi Arabian partner called Dar Global. The planned resort north of the Qatari capital of Doha will be developed by a Qatari company called Qatari Diyar, which is owned by the Qatari government. That would appear to violate the Trump organization's much weaker second-term ethics pledge. Who cares about that, right? I mean, he doesn't care about ethics, obviously, but he does care about these business deals. So how do you balance the two? How do you give Israel all the cookies they want, as Trump has been doing, while not upsetting the Qataris? Well, just pretend like you didn't give the green light. But make no mistake about it, it's our bombs. These are American bombs. We are the ones arming Israel. The American taxpayers are forced to fund the weapons that Israel uses in its acts of terror and genocide in Gaza. So just something to keep in mind.
I actually have a different theory than you. I think that the Israelis did not let him know. But he didn't want to seem weak, so he leaked that. I knew, I okayed it, I greenlighted it, and then he puts out a press statement, and you could see that he didn't write it because it's the same exact thing that Caroline Leavitt read, right? And oh, we are so sorry. I know we have a base there and this endangers our troops, but Almighty Israel has asked us to endanger the entire planet. And since we are dogs of theirs, we work for them and they walk me around the goddamn park. So that's what the statement was, nonsense. And by the way, Caroline Leavitt says, oh, it's okay to kill people who have gained from the horrors of Gaza. Israel has gained from the horrors of Gaza. Israel has done the horrors of Gaza. Is it okay to kill them? No, only Arabs, only Muslims, well, and Christians too. Who cares about them?
I would like the killing to stop in general. I would just like the slaughter, the killing, the unrest, the violence. I would like all of it to stop. But it won't stop when Israel is run by a political group that's so unhinged that they feel entitled to the land belonging to other sovereign countries.
Yeah, so guys, it's the reason why the Trump official statement sounds so apologetic, which is very unusual, right? Is saying very unfortunately landed in the capital as if it was like an accident. No, they meant to bomb that area of the capital, and that's what Israel does all the time. They've bombed Damascus, they've bombed Tehran.
They wiped out the entire cabinet of Yemen.
Yeah.
They slaughtered the prime minister. Like, what are we talking about here?
Of the Houthi government of Yemen. And they're all gone. The prime minister's dead, the cabinet's dead. Anyone that even looks askance at Israel, they murder because they're terrorists. So, but those troops and that base is important to us, to America, but we just burned it. So I don't know if Qatar is going to continue to bribe Trump, but if I was them, I'd be like, no, that's it. Cut all of his stupid deals. No golf and get the hell out of here, okay? Now you're going to murder us too? Well, you want us to sign up for our own murder. It was one thing when we looked the other way as you murdered tens of thousands of Palestinian children, okay?
I haven't really seen a lot of strength from these countries, Jim.
Well, I mean, let's see what Qatar does. Let's see. Are they super weak? Are they just going to bow their heads to Israel and go, yes, you murder anyone you like inside our country? And a lot of countries in the Arab world have done that. And they're pathetically weak. And so right now, I mean, look, if you're not, I'm not in favor of any of this. I want peace. But if you're not trying to protect yourself from Israel, you're a sucker, because they will take that weakness as an invitation to kill anyone they like inside your country and to murder your entire government and put in a puppet government to replace it. So, I mean, you want to talk about nukes? I mean, at this point, every country on earth would be nuts not to get a nuke because of Israel. Israel's such a danger. If you don't have a nuke, they reserve the right to murder anyone they like inside your country. And no one does anything. The entire world just saw them kill the entire Houthi government of Yemen. They saw them kill, now in Qatar, they saw them attack Iran, attack Syria, attack Lebanon, attack the occupied territories, committed genocide. We've seen it all with our eyes. And the world's like, I know, but it's Israel. We can't, Israel is stronger than the rest of the world combined. And by the way, Israel's supporters would love that comment. And they brag about it and they're like, haha, that's right. You all work for us now. But by the way, that's an anti-Semitic trope, so you're not allowed to say it. Well, okay, which one is it? Which one is it?
Literally true. Anyway, we got to take a break. We'll be right back.
All right, guys, back on TYT's social break. As you can probably tell, although I don't know if you can tell it any clearer than any other day. So I've had it. Like, as much as I've railed against Israel before in the middle of this genocide, and now I'm at a new level. They're a danger to the whole world. The fact that they have nukes should frighten all of us. If those paranoid sociopaths that run the Israeli government think there's even a 2% chance that one hair on an Israeli citizen, or especially theirs, hair might be endangered, they'll nuke the whole place. There isn't anyone they wouldn't nuke. You think they have any qualms about lives that aren't Israeli? No, they think non-Israeli lives are just ants.
I don't even know if they care that much about Israeli lives when you consider the fact that they never cared about the hostages, guys. I think it's—
They never cared. And they murdered their own hostages.
Anyone who was holding out on that opinion, now that the Hamas negotiators were targeted for assassination in Qatar, and by the way, it doesn't appear that Israel even succeeded, but that was one of the targets.
Yeah, of course they murdered.
So how are you going to argue that they want peace and that they want the return of the hostages?
No, of course not. Of course they don't want the return of the hostages. The hostages, the few that are left, is their only excuse for more murder. These terrorists haven't murdered enough people, so they're going to gorge on killing more Palestinians. And I think they're getting off on it. They're like, watch. We're going to bomb another neighbor, start another war, and we're going to make America pay for it. And maybe some American troops will get killed in Qatar. Watch these bitches. They can't do anything. We own America. They've got to be high-fiving right now. And they do, to be fair to them, they do. By the way, other countries are morons for not buying our government. Our government's so easy to buy. The tiny little industries like the sugar lobby buys our government. Almost 95% of the people in our government raised their hand and said, I will be a prostitute for donors. I will do anything. I will betray my voters for big sugar, for high fructose corn syrup, let alone Israel. Oh my God, I'll let Israel murder anyone as long as you give me money. Look, guys, this isn't about religion. Most of those legislators are, a variety of religions that you see in America. Has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with no moral character. When you have no morality and no shame, you go to the US Congress. Okay, you should despise politicians.
Oh, I do.
The Resume Gladiator on Super Chat said, they branded an entire faith as terrorists to hide their own crimes. The blood on their hands won't wash off, and neither will the truth. History will judge them from east to west. Hashtag never forget. Hashtag justice will prevail. And I detect no lies. So if you come at me with the BS charges of anti-Semitism, listen, Israel smeared all Muslims as terrorists because they wanted to steal more Arab land. I'm not an Arab, but now they might try to steal Turkish land and Persian land. There's never enough for the goddamn Israeli government led by Benjamin Netanyahu. So no, anyone who supports Israel right now is a massive racist and pro-terrorism and pro-genocide. So those are facts, and they can deal with that. Back on TYT, Jake and Anna and Andre Rabi. Andre, thanks for signing up through the join button. We appreciate you. Anna.
Let's get to our next story.
Can you imagine our capital being the most violent city? But it was really bad into a totally safe zone. It's called a safe zone city. There's no crime. They said crime's down 87%. I said, no, it's more than 87%. Virtually nothing. And much lesser things that take place in the home they call crime. You know, they'll do anything they can to find something. If a man has a little fight with the wife, they say this was a crime, see?
There you have the President of the United States, Donald Trump, downplaying domestic violence and abuse as a little fight with the wife, as he touted his supposed crime-fighting policies in Washington, D.C. Not surprising from a man who actually has been accused by multiple women, including an ex-wife, of being abusive. In fact, in 1990, during Donald Trump's divorce with his wife, Ivana, this is in her divorce deposition, she stated that Trump once pushed her to the floor and pulled out handfuls of her hair. Ivana eventually described what followed as rape, but later walked back on the claim. Here's what she stated back in 1993. On one occasion during 1989, Mr. Trump and I had marital relations in which he behaved very differently towards me than he had during our marriage. As a woman, I felt violated. I referred to this as a rape, but I do not want my words to be interpreted in a literal or criminal sense. Now let's fast forward to 2018, where Trump weighed in on domestic violence yet again. In this case, he was commenting on his then staff secretary, Rob Porter, who resigned after he was accused of physical and emotional abuse by not one, but two of his ex-wives. Trump wrote on Twitter at the time, "Is there no such thing any longer as due process?" Oh, interesting. Trump suddenly cared about due process, something that he will not afford random people on a boat in international waters, something he won't afford undocumented immigrants who are seeking asylum in this country, who are entitled to due process, but nonetheless,
and some documented immigrants.
And documented immigrants, exactly. People's lives are being shattered and destroyed by a mere allegation. Some are true and some are false. Some are old and some are new. There is no recovery for someone falsely accused. Life and career are gone. Now the White House is trying to clear up what Trump said in regard to, domestic abuse being nothing more than just a little fight with the wife. A White House spokeswoman said in a statement that the president wasn't talking about or downplaying domestic violence.
Yes, he was.
Well, what else would he be referring to when he refers to just a little fight with the wife, as he's trying to, tout his, crime numbers? And by the way, despite everything he has to say about the way he tackles crime, new polling indicates that he's underwater on issues like crime and immigration, which we'll get to in just a minute.
Yeah, saying that people are prosecuting guys for a little fight with the wife is saying that you're in favor of domestic abuse.
Or that there shouldn't be consequences, criminal consequences.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, if there's no criminal consequences for murder, rape, robbery, but there's gonna be more murder, rape, robbery. And so he's saying, so you batter your wife, you slap her around a little bit. Oh, now that's criminal? Yeah, it's criminal. Wake up. I mean, I know he's like 280 years old. Like Biden was, like all of our stupid politicians are. Oh, we love the corrupt old timers, right? Anyways, and he has a history of hitting his wife, and now she could recant it to get money all she wants. We all know what happened. So it doesn't matter. Look, guys, there's no one defending Trump here other than extreme right. Extreme right's like, yeah, that's right, man. You beat your wife a little bit, and now that's criminal. Maybe you smash your head against the wall. Now that's criminal. That used to be the man controlling the house. Yeah. But other than those idiot Neanderthals, who's in favor of spousal abuse? Who's in favor of beating your wife? I mean, I know Democrats aren't. That's not even close, right? You can have a lot of complaints about Democrats, but they're not in favor of beating their wives, okay?
They won't
I'm
publicly
saying voters.
say the kind. Oh yeah, okay.
Voters, not politicians.
But in terms of the politicians, none of them are dumb enough to come out and publicly say the idiotic things that Trump is willing to say. Let's just keep it real.
Look, politicians are scum across the board, so like no regular rules of humanity apply to them. So I wouldn't be surprised if half of them weren't doing that. I'm talking about the voters. Democratic voters have no interest in any piece of crap who hits his wife or husband or anything else, okay? Independents have no interest. I think, and let's see if I'm right or wrong, but I think a big percentage of Republican voters also don't have an interest in a wife beater, okay? A big percentage. But maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Are they gonna back him up? Oh, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? If you're in that camp, you're a piece of crap. All right, go ahead.
It's such an unforced error as well, right? Because he's just trying to focus on how great he is in terms of, tackling the crime issue in Washington, D.C. And so he just can't help himself. He has to throw in the minimization of domestic abuse. Okay, but despite all of that, despite what he has done in deploying the National Guard in Washington, D.C., based on this, in my opinion, false pretense of him wanting to fight crime, most Americans are not happy with his performance, and that's across the board, including on the issue of crime. So voters don't appear to be buying what Trump is selling. Take a quick look.
These are all the key issues. Donald Trump is underwater on all of them. Trade, obviously, tariffs have been a big thing at the bottom of your list, minus 17 points. The economy, which was the reason he was elected to his second term to fix the economy, way underwater at minus 14 points. Foreign policy, minus 12. And then I think, Mr. John Berman, the key two issues at the top, because these have been Donald Trump's strongest issues, crime and immigration. But get this. He is now underwater on both of these issues, if barely, but he's underwater on crime at -2, immigration at -3.
And remember, the main reasons why Donald Trump won the popular vote is because voters, unfortunately, in the lead up to the election, trusted him more on the economy, which isn't doing so well. The jobs numbers are pretty disastrous. Crime, immigration. And so even though he's just slightly underwater on crime and immigration, I believe this is just the beginning because he wasn't underwater before. But the way that he is tackling these issues is really leaving a sour taste in people's mouths because it's leading to chaos in various cities, various states that have to deal with the deployment of federal troops, have to spend their resources toward the chaos that ensues as a result of what Trump is doing for shock and awe. This is not the right way to handle crime, which is a serious problem in some parts of the country. But sending in National Guard troops who are not legally allowed to engage in local law enforcement duties makes no sense. DC's different, right? He has more jurisdiction over Washington, D.C., but that is not the case when it comes to cities like Chicago or Los Angeles, which is why you likely have come across videos of National Guard troops literally picking up trash, being bored, they don't know what to do. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's his own worst enemy. That's why he's underwater in crime and immigration. Let me tell you what he could have done to stay actually very popular on those issues. Number one, on crime, he could have said, I'm tackling crime and I'm gonna bring in FBI, DEA, and all these other agencies to help bring down crime in these cities.
And I'm going to collaborate with city leaders, right? I'm gonna do this in a collaborative way because I'm serious about tackling crime. That would make voters across the board respect him because that's the sign of a leader, someone who actually sees a problem and wants to find solutions in a smart, collaborative way.
And the FBI, DEA, and other federal agencies work with local law enforcement and are invited in all the time. The military is not. But so what he does is, okay, I've got this issue on crime. I'm winning on it. I feel good about it. Oh, well, how can I screw this up? Because I'm an idiot. Oh, I got an idea. Why don't I start bringing in troops into the middle of American cities and make it seem like we're a third world country under martial law? And then people get really nervous and then hate me. Why? You had to win. Why not take the win, right? And then on top of that, we'll talk about how maybe you get in a little fight with your wife. What's the big deal? That's a crime? Yeah, now you seem like you're pro-crime. You're so dumb. All you had to do was stick with, there's crime in the cities, they're not addressing it enough, I'm gonna fix it. That was a winning strategy, but you couldn't help yourself because you're a serial bungler. On immigration, huge win for him. Close the border, taking out undocumented immigrants who are criminals, sky high popularity. We showed you the polling. That worked, right? But here comes serial bungler. He's got to bungle it away. So he's like, all right, let's get people in mass, no badges. We snatch up the people, including little grandmas and kids off the street. We throw them into a van. So you look like thugs and terrorists. So you look like weirdos. So now women are afraid to go out in the street. And now there's guys imitating ICE with mask and no badge and throwing women into vans and raping them. And then you got people worried to death about folks who they've lived with for 10, 20 years. And you look like a Gestapo picket. Why did you do that? I mean, forget me, if you're a Republican, you should be 10 times angry at Trump. He had it. And instead, because he can't help himself, because he wants to be authoritarian so badly, he's like, the president can do whatever he wants. That's not our system of government, you moron. So he bungles, and now he's underwater on everything. Good, I hope he goes 40 points underwater. He's such a liar. Where's the Epstein files? Where's you standing up for America first, getting walked around the park by every foreign government, right? One in particular. And now on crime, immigration, unpopular. Economy, tariffs, that was supposed to be a strong suit, way underwater. Go ahead, keep bungling, moron.
All right, when we come back from the break, we'll weigh in on where the economy currently stands. There have been some revisions in the jobs report, and it doesn't look pretty.
All right, back on TYT. Man, what podcast writes in on Super Chat? Cenk raging on a Tuesday. Good job, Cenk. Good job, Anna. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. I don't want to rage. I'm just really mad. Gina Dam says, it's like the trolley problem where they throw the switch to save one of theirs, no matter how many brown people are added to the other side. I mean, if you gave Israel a choice between one Israeli or 1 million Arabs, it's not even close. I don't know that it gets close ever. 10 million Arabs, 100 million Arabs. And by the way, it's not, in that case, it's not just the Israeli government. I think tons and tons of Israelis, I don't want to do the poll. I don't want to know, okay? Would be like, one Israeli or 1 million Arabs. Who cares? Arabs are dirt. Hey, American dogs say their lives are worthless and call everyone an anti-Semite if they don't want to murder Arabs. And they say, well, come on, it's our goddamn land, greater Israel. God promised to us, okay? If you believe God promised you land, you're a lunatic. You should be locked up in an asylum, okay? You're so maniacally stupid and wrong. God told you to murder people and steal their land? You sound like a psychopath. Okay, Taj Mohammed UK says, watching live from London, England, UK after midnight and loving it. Long live TYT. Thank you. Well, wish us luck on that. Suspicious Dragon 92. The mayor of my city is getting his panties in a knot because he lost a vote to fly the Israeli flag at City Hall. But God forbid there's a pride flag anywhere on city property. Someone got written up and fired for it. Well, fired for something else technically, but they weren't targeted until they refused to remove the flag from their office. Why are we flying Israeli flags anywhere? Why? What a bitch that mayor is. Which city is it? What's his name? Right back in. What a traitor to America. What do you flying an Israeli flag in the middle of them murdering 64,000 Palestinians for? Are you a terrorist? Send me the name of this terrorist mayor. Love 18 what girl wrote in on Twitch. I thought America didn't negotiate with terrorists, but will fund them instead. That is totally correct. Sentex 1965 says, I have a family member that supports this crap. I told him that if a crazed killer ever holds them and their family hostage, I'll make sure to let the cops know it's fine if you torch the house and kill the entire family. They support that position. So yeah, for an Israeli, killing everybody in a town is no big deal. That's Tuesday. Of course. My feelings were hurt, so we murdered them all. It's Israel 101. Sergeant Johnson, I'm here to fight for your choices, freedoms, and true democratic processes. TYT strong. Thank you, brother. Dragon Bear, New Jersey writes in, and that's why every country surrounding Israel needs to have their own nuclear bombs. Well, it would certainly keep them safer, and it's the only thing that's going to keep them safe, because Israel will kill you. They're not even, so I've been very clear today, government filled with terrorists. It's like if a terrorist organization took over a government with nukes and a giant military and the American government as their bitches. That's the situation this world is in now, where the terrorist government is the strongest government in the world and can kill anyone they like. Mr. Scruffy 04, Israel's committing a war crime. Must be another day ending in Y. Yep. Rural is always surprised me the amount of restraint all these countries are practicing. They could easily unite and overwhelm Israel's defenses, and I doubt the US could effectively do anything. No way. No, if they tried that, Israel would nuke half the known world. All right, we'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Believe it or not, we are going to do Operation Joy today for the members. That's a hell of a pivot. Tomorrow we have Operation Hope. That's after the bonus episode, so everybody stick around for that, where we try to actually do some positive change in the world. And Suspicion Dragon 92 wrote back in to tell me who it is. Mayor Rob Medina of Palm Bay, Florida, was upset that he couldn't fly the Israeli flag in his city. He lost that vote. He wanted to support a genocidal terrorist government over America, but he was foiled. Oh no, I have to serve America and their stupid voters when he wanted to serve Israel and their terrorist leaders. He should obviously be voted out. He's un-American. Anna.
All right, let's check in with the economy, shall we?
They're trying to engineer this American manufacturing renaissance. They're trying to cause a jobs boom. That is not happening, right? Economists say at best that effort is off to a slow start. Yeah. But at worst, it's actually backfiring completely, that it's been counterproductive. Because first of all, you're causing a lot of uncertainty, right? A lot of businesses, they don't know where tariffs are going to be, and so they're kind of paralyzed. They're not hiring at all.
Just weeks after President Donald Trump fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner, citing revisions to the jobs report that showed that the US economy actually added far fewer jobs than economists had previously expected. Well, a new report has come out and it shows that, well, through these revisions, a lot less jobs were added to the economy. Now, to be fair, let's take a look at this chart. What this chart shows you are the revisions that cover March of 2024 through March of this year. So the bulk of the data does have to do with, the Biden administration, or comes from the era when Biden was still president. Now, the new data also shows that employers added 911,000 fewer jobs in that time period than previously expected. That's what the revision is. And that implies that the economy only added 850,000 jobs during that time, which is half as many as previously reported. So this is the second unusually large annual revision in a row, and that is not a good sign. That is not a good economic indicator. So the 2024 benchmarking process lowered the estimate of job growth by nearly 600,000 jobs. And then the 2025 revision would be the largest since 2009 in percentage terms. The adjustments are often larger during turning points in the economy when surveys struggle to keep up with rapidly shifting patterns of hiring and firing. And look, the downward revisions were pronounced in specific sectors, right? So you saw revisions across the board, but where you saw more of a revision is in the services sector. So the leisure and hospitality sector added 176,000 fewer jobs than previously believed. The retail industry now appears to have lost jobs during the period covered by the revision. Again, that's from March of 2024 to March of 2025, rather than eking out a narrow gain. And then there are some warning signs of the economy slowing that we saw last week, for instance. So on Friday, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that employers added just 22,000 jobs in August, and that the unemployment rate had edged up to 4.3%, its highest level in nearly 4 years. And look, while this big revision that we're sharing with you today, again, covers most of Biden's last year in office and a few months from Trump. The fact of the matter is Trump's tariffs are absolutely beginning to have a real impact on the US economy. And if you don't believe me, here are the goods.
That was a dismal jobs report on Friday, but it was especially grim for those industries most exposed to tariffs, right? So look at mining and logging. Lost 6,000 jobs in August alone, 7,000 lost in construction. Manufacturing and wholesale trade losing 12,000 jobs apiece in 1 month. And this month was not an anomaly. Apollo Global Management has found that if you look at those tariff exposed industries, they started losing jobs shortly after this trade war started, and it's continued. For example, US manufacturing, it's lost jobs 4 months in a row. You go back to April, that was the month that those sky-high tariffs really were first announced. Employment was unchanged during that month. So this is, of course, the exact opposite of what the White House is looking for.
Now, you might have noticed that Trump isn't lashing out the same way he did not too long ago when it came to the Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner when other revisions had been made to previous jobs reports. It's probably because he finally realizes that it is certain that the Federal Reserve is going to lower interest rates because the job numbers are sluggish. But Cenk, this is also a really bad sign because these tariffs come at a time when AI is emerging and replacing a lot of workers, especially entry-level workers. Coders, by the way, in Silicon Valley are losing their jobs at a record pace. So things aren't really looking good for our economy.
Yeah, he's in a world of trouble and doesn't realize it. First of all, the economy was never as strong as they made it out to be on TV. Why? Not because they support Biden or whatever. Same thing under Trump. Oh, record stock market, because they're all rich and they're all in the stock market. But the reality is, the wealth inequality kept growing and growing and growing. So much so now that Republican voters and MAGA hate income inequality and want it addressed, right? And they're beginning to realize, oh, we're all getting screwed, right? So what has that inequality created? Yeah, it's created record stock markets, and the rich are even richer than they were before. They're spectacularly rich. But the rest of us can't afford the mortgage, can't afford a $400 hit in any given month, and the list goes on. And it only gets worse, it never gets better. Houses get even more unaffordable, prices at the store get more unaffordable. And then we have callous guys like Biden and Trump saying, so what, buy less Barbie dolls, so what, okay? Well, brother, it's gonna affect the one thing and only thing that you care about, you, okay? So not only do you have an economy that's always been weaker than the liars in mainstream media have painted it out to be, but you layer on top of that these tariffs that are totally over the top, needless, and are causing problems. But then when the AI unemployment numbers hit, that hasn't started yet. But my sense of it is it's going to be a tsunami. You're going to see unemployment like you've never seen in your lifetime. And when that happens, Trump is unprepared. He's not going to know what to do. His polling is going to absolutely crater. He's going to be hated. And then what does he do? Then does he try martial law? Does he try to take over the streets? Because this guy doesn't know anything about the economy. He's never known anything about it. So it's only going to get worse from here, not better. And you can quote me on it. And if I'm wrong, come back and tell me.
All right, I want to go to iBlock next, guys. I know it's a bit of a curveball, but we have limited time, and I wanted to just cover one more story before we move over to our bonus episode for our members. By the way, Operation Joy tonight after the main show, tyt.com/join to become a member if you aren't one already. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about an artist that some of you might be familiar with, but now he has become a bit of a target. The world may soon learn who the artist known as Banksy really is, despite successfully keeping their identity hidden for the past 25 years. Now, Banksy is the type of artist who weighs in on current events, politics, geopolitical issues through his art or her art. We don't know the identity of this person, of course. And as you can see, the latest artwork from Banksy was basically discovered outside the Royal Courts of Justice in London. And as you can see, it depicts a judge beating a protester who's holding a bloodied sign with his gavel. So as you can imagine, some elite individuals are not really in favor of this type of political commentary. So Banksy confirmed the piece on his Instagram account with a rare and unusually explicit caption, Royal Courts of Justice, London. So the timing of the mural, just days after the reported arrest of over 900 pro-Palestinian protesters across the UK, and shortly after the Royal Court's decision to reject an appeal by Palestine Action, has sparked widespread interpretation. While the work makes no explicit reference to these events, the choice of site, the institutional symbolism, and the visual language of protest and power all suggest a deeper critique. I mean, that was my view of the artwork as well. Now, Banksy, again, is a very political artist, but this latest work may have taken things too far for some, I guess, because Banksy put the mural on a building with a grade 1 listed heritage designation. So now there is this effort to try to uncover who Banksy is. So this obviously was intentional. Banksy chose this location intentionally. And according to Mediaite, this building is comparable to a US site with both federal landmark status and maximum preservation protections. So an HM Courts and Tribunal Service spokesperson said in a statement that the work would be removed from the building. Quote, the Royal Courts of Justice is a listed building and HMCTS are obliged to maintain its original character, they said. But Metropolitan Police have confirmed to news outlets earlier today that this will be treated as a potential crime, criminal damage, essentially. Additional details, including whether or not the charges will be pressed against Banksy, haven't been disclosed yet. But if they do decide to go in that direction, it is possible that this person, this artist, would be compelled to reveal their true identity. Except they've done a pretty good job hiding their identity, and there will be no punishment if this person's identity is never revealed. So
no, this person's in a lot of trouble because they touched Israel. I mean, they'd be lucky if they're not called a terrorist and executed. This is about a protest in favor of Palestine, and so that's why that painting is. That work of art is so symbolic, because that is not just the UK and not just the courts, but that is the governments of almost all the Western nations beating us to a pulp for disagreeing with Israel. Can you please not support a genocide or ethnic cleansing, etc.? And the courts in the UK and everywhere else to beat you to living hell. How dare you oppose Israel? How dare you, right? And so that's why that resonates. So and when it resonates, they get more touchy. And then Israel says, hey, dogs, that's it, I want Banksy. That's it, I want him. He offended me. That's a big problem. So Banksy's in a lot of trouble.
And look, to be fair, what Banksy is commenting on here is the way that the government has essentially arrested individuals in the UK over their speech. And I understand that they have different speech laws.
We have freedom of speech here.
We do.
But it has an asterisk now. If you boycott Israel or you criticize Israel, you could be arrested, deported, your contracts canceled. So First Amendment, except if you criticize Israel.
So Palestine Action is now considered a banned group in the UK. And just last Friday, I had covered a story with Dave Smith and Scott Horton about how individuals in a completely different organization who want to support Palestine Action and Solidarity got arrested because they were organizing through Zoom meetings. They weren't organizing any type of criminal activity. They weren't organizing any type of attack against anyone. They were just organizing demonstrations, which, by the way, did take place over the weekend.
So at this point, if you support Palestinians being human beings and having a right to live, you'll get arrested in the UK. And here too, if you're not a citizen, and if you are a citizen, you're again not allowed to boycott them. Israel has all sorts of special rules. So you should put up the artwork by Banksy one more time, because I want you guys to realize this is all of our governments on behalf of Israel. And that's not Palestinians, that's our citizens. British citizens, US citizens, the citizens of Europe being bludgeoned by our own government on behalf of Israel. Take away our rights, take away our freedom. How dare you be opposed? Imagine if they did this in the middle of the Holocaust. You're offending the Germans. That's it, take them away. No one's allowed to oppose Germany. If you're opposed Germany and you're doing a peace protest to save Jews from the Holocaust, that's a throw them in jail. Okay?
I'm sure that did happen.
Look, not in the UK, because obviously they were.
Not in the UK.
But in some countries, I'm sure that did happen. That's right. Yeah. That's right. And now it's being repeated. And last thing I'll say is, do we have? Look, for me, it's not racial or religious at all. Okay, I'm not white. I'm not whatever. Right? But do we have pride as Americans? In Britain, do you have pride as being British? You have pride in your sovereignty in your country? Are you comfortable with being servants of Israel? Because I'm not comfortable with it. That's not what I signed up for. So if you have pride in being Irish, Norwegian, whatever it might be, the bare minimum we could ask our governments is to represent us and not a different government. It's not to be hateful and it's not about religion, but it is a bare minimum ask. You're supposed to represent us in a democracy instead of bludgeoning your own citizens if they oppose a different foreign government. The corruption of the Western governments by Israel is obvious, sickening, and revolting.
All right, Operation Joy is next. If you're a member, stick around. If you're not one, tyt.com/join, and we'll see you there.